So my name is Alistair Schneider. I'm the CEO of Innouvo. We help entrepreneurs, venture capitalists come together with cities to basically bring new solutions to the market. Here's all the different partners that are behind us and with us for this event. So thank you very much to all our partners who are also supporting entrepreneurship and helping bring venture capital up to par. So we do believe venture capital is a little bit broken, at least in the US. And I think globally, and today, in an effort to basically share some light and some wisdom to all of you, we want to talk about, what is going well, what needs to be improved, what are all the investors, working on to give you really their perspective and their vision of the world. So this is part of the Strasbourg Boston initiative. We share many things in common in terms of innovation, healthcare, and entrepreneurship. Pretzels also. So in Boston and Strasbourg, we have a common liking for pretzels. And today we have, more importantly, several companies, US companies. So ICMed, a telemedicine company, Unima, a rapid test company for COVID, NQ Medical, basically AI software that helps, monitor patients with certain conditions. Mariana, AI company, machine learning that helps with supply chain analysis. So helping these companies make the bridge come to Europe and basically working with cities and private-public partnerships. So today, objective, really collective learning. Ask a lot of questions, guys. Everyone on the call, please don't be shy. Ask all the questions you want and you need. Investors are hard to get usually, so we're really happy to bring you these amazing speakers today to you. And so don't hesitate, use this opportunity to ask questions. And with no further ado, quick introduction of our speakers today. We have Michel Husser, who's going to be speaking in a few seconds, who represents Innouvo Capital, but also Cajuba. We have Karine Lignel. Hi, Karine, from Credit Mutuel Equity. Karine will present herself as well and what they do at Credit Mutuel Equity. Jean-François Rax, welcome to the call. Very glad to have you. We've been interacting in the past as well, so very pleased to see you here. Jean-Jacques Bernardini from GrandENov, who will be providing us the view for Europe, European funding, because it's more than just Strasbourg, it's the entire region. And finally, last but not least, and we need probably to promote Alban as a panelist from BPI, which is the Innovation Bank of France. So welcome everybody to the call. And with no further ado, we're going to go through the agenda, which is around 10 minutes each. We'll present a little bit your day in the life, what you do, the companies you work with, your investment thesis, and any wisdom you think is useful for entrepreneurs, government officials to understand, to make a better job basically at entrepreneurship. And so we can help you do, make better investment decisions and create tomorrow's economy. So with no further ado, Michel, are you with us? Do you want to do a quick allocation? You can do it in French. I'm happy to translate.
No, okay. Quickly, I'm Michel Husser, co-founder of Innouvo and French business angel. So I'm very happy to see our network strengthened around ambitious production, going from Strasbourg to Boston and now from Boston to Europe, through my territory, Strasbourg. Also, we're delighted to be able to exchange with investors from two continents, because it is by acting together that we are going to a more sustainable world and rebuild venture capital.
Excellent. Thank you, Michel. Thank you, Michel.
Thank you.
Let's go into the presentation. Michel, can you check with Alban Stam if he has the link? I don't see him in the participant list.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Karine, welcome to the call. We're really delighted to have you, and we look forward to learning from you today. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Karine. I'm working at Credit Mutuel Innovation, which is a subsidiary of Credit Mutuel Equity, which is a subsidiary of Credit Mutuel, which is a very well-known French bank. We, Credit Mutuel Innovation, invest only in technological companies. And what differentiates us from the other funds in France is that we are an evergreen fund. So we have 99 years of life expectancy, which is not that bad. And we can work with the companies on a long time scale. And we usually invest and reinvest in companies for the time that we stay in the capital, which is more or less around 9 years, which is quite long for a venture capitalist. So we are very hands-on as investors. We are always in the boards, whichever kind of boards there is. And we try to bring with our money a lot of knowledge about the investment fields and the subsidiaries with the BPI, of course, and also our KOLs and the fact that we have been working in the field for a few years. I have been working in venture capital for 20 years now, which is quite a long time, and I'm an engineer by training. And so we usually invest in 2 types of companies: technological companies, which means IP, and in that field we have a lot of life science companies, but also green techs and electronics, and the other kind of companies we invest in are more digital companies, either on the web or software companies. So we have those 2 feeds with 2 different teams now. We invest mainly in France, but we can invest in the whole Europe, and we have 2 investment outside of France today. One is in Austria, and the other one is quite new, is in Belgium. Why do we usually invest in France? It's because of the knowledge we have of the laws in France and all the legal part of our job, which is very important, as you may know. We also have different offices in different parts of Europe, because we have one in Switzerland, one in Germany, and we also have sister company, I would say cousin company, in Montreal. So we are also able to direct you to them if it is more meaningful for you to have a North American investor. We invest from 1 to 20 million per company in different rounds, and we have like 6 public companies now, which we helped go public. I think that's the main thing that I can say. No, we try to balance our portfolio. We have a lot of very early companies coming to us, and we try to have only 20% in seed capital. We invest in all the rounds. We can invest even in companies with a lot of revenues. It's not a problem for us, because we have different types of investment in our structure. So we try to have a balanced portfolio, and therefore we usually say no more often to the very early ones, because we receive a lot of early ones, and we try to find companies with more advanced products.
Excellent. And what's the fund size?
250 million euros.
Okay. Excellent.
And it's not a fund, please. It's
okay.
not a fund.
Okay. So what is it, Karine?
It's called a Société de Capital Risque, because the fund is very short in terms of time. It's 12 years. Okay. That's why I like to make this precision, because it's different.
Okay, so it's a longer term approach to basically venture capital.
Yeah, it's an evergreen structure.
Excellent. So we have also Nick Anderson, who joined us. He's an investor from the US. So Nick, don't hesitate. Also, if you have questions from a US investor standpoint, US entrepreneur, it will help with the discussion. So Jean-François, I think you can go next if you want. I think you have a couple of slides for us.
Yes, sure.
Excellent. And everyone in the audience, if you have any questions, this event is for you, especially the US entrepreneur part of the Boston Strasbourg. Shoot your questions. We'll give you the mic as soon as you have a question, to make sure you can interact and get the information you need to bring your business to Europe. So please don't be shy. Ask tons of questions. We're there for you. Thank you for being there, by the way, everybody.
All right, so you can see my screen?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So briefly, so CapInnovest is a seed fund. So we only invest in a seed stage of companies, and we are dedicated to invest in innovative startups based in Grand Est and Bourgogne-Franche-Comté. So it's the eastern part of France. So we are really a regional, a local seed fund. I work for a company called Capital Grand Est, and Capital Grand Est is managing actually over 100 million euros through 3 different investment vehicles. Of course, today we will focus on the seed stage and on the CapInnovest, which is a 45 million euro seed fund, and we are currently raising the next fund, which with a target of 30 to 45 million euro as well. So here's the team of Capital Grand Est. So we are around 10 people, and 4 of them are dedicated to the seed stage. We have some specialization. Mark Bickenkamp is specialized in industry, and he's an engineer. Virginia and myself are more specialized in life science, and Laurent is more specialized in IT. So we try to cover quite all the field, let's say, of the innovation and the startups we can see. So the fund started in July 2014 with 45 million euro again. We invested around 30 million in 28 companies. We have currently 22 companies in portfolio with actually 4 exits. Our investments are usually between 500K and 1 million euro at the first round, but our rules give us the capacity to invest as much as 4.5 million euro per company. So we have here our main limited partners, which are BPI and the French region, EDF, and some banks as well. And you can see here on the card what is our area of investment, of potential investment. And the fields of intervention are actually, it's all fields, but mainly it's healthcare and food, energy and clean tech, IT, industry and robotics. Of course, we work closely with an active local network to identify the deal flow, but also to get help to analyze the different company we can see. And here is a snapshot of our portfolio. So we have a lot of life science company because of the region actually in Grand Est and Alsace. We have quite a good research in life science, and so we have a lot of biotech and medtech and diagnosis companies in this area. So here are our investment criteria, which are the same for CapInnovest 1 and the next CapInnovest 2, the next fund. So the requirements are the company has to be created less than 8 years ago. The annual sales must be lower than 500K. EBITDA must be under 0. And the headquarters of the company should be based in France and in Grand Est or Bourgogne-Franche-Comté region. And we have to be the first investor. Actually, we really have to focus on the seed stage. And the nice to have, let's say, it's of course a skilled and experienced team, original approach technology, proof of concept, strong IP, and so on. Nothing very original here.
So Jean-François, this is a good slide where we're getting a question basically from Richie Bavasso, CEO of NQ Medical. And he says, what are the milestone criteria for assessing a US company? So you just shared those, criteria. How does this change or applies to a US company?
Well, yeah. So actually, the thing is, we would need the American company to come in France and to have its headquarters in France. That's a requirement. Once again, we have to invest in France. We can't invest in the US.
Okay. Can it be just a sales office, so it has to be really the headquarters? The company needs to relocate then.
Actually, for the first fund, it was quite strong and quite strict. We needed the headquarters, really.
Yep.
For the second one, it's still under discussion, so it could be a bit more easy for company coming from abroad to be funded by us.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, thank you. Richie, does this answer the question? And we'll have the same for each fund. Richie, thank you for asking the question. Richie said yes. Awesome. Thank you.
All right, and yeah, just as conclusion, just the timeline of the selection process, but it's also not very original here, with an internal committee, with due diligence and the closing, and we usually it takes between 3 to 6 months to go through the whole process.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you, Jean-François. This was a great pitch. Usually it's the startup who pitch, so this is great to see you pitch and provide this information. Also, message to the panelists, I don't know if you've noticed, there's a Q&A section. I recommend opening it. If you see a question that you want to answer, don't hesitate. We have one question from Manish Varma. Any advice on how US companies can tap into the EU VC network? So we'll answer this as we do the introductions. And I think Jean-Jacques Bernardini will probably talk about that also with the EU funding. So who's next? Who am I? Okay, Jean-Jacques, I think you are next from GrandENov.
Yeah, I'm the next. So thanks Alistair, and thanks Michel for your kind invitations. And to give me the opportunity to introduce my organization, GrandENov, and my job in the agency, which is to provide assistance to companies who set up European grants. Just maybe some few words about the agency to understand what is our position in the ecosystem of innovations. GrandENov is the regional innovation agency. We are a public-private organization, which means funded by public authorities like the regional government, the Chamber of Commerce, and also by private organizations, because we provide services to company. So that's the Regional Innovation Agency. We are 72. We are located in the main cities of the region. The region Grand Est is 2 times the size of Belgium, just to have an idea. And we provided services basically on, if I have to divide the activities into business units, the first one is dedicated to innovation management and innovation funding. The second one is dedicated to acceleration. So this is a clear link with activities of the incubator, the regional incubator of SEMIA. It's just a piece of information. I'm a member of the board of SEMIA. So that we manage the accelerator. We also manage the setting up of new clusters at regional level. So we're working on different topics like tourism, like energetic transitions, and so on and so on. So that we have many activities related to innovation. In fact, we are doing economical development through a tool which is innovation, basically. So that in the organizations, I manage the team European grants. So it means that I'm working with the European Commission and with companies, and the idea is to identify opportunities and then to transform opportunities into proposal and then into a project funded by the European Commission. When we are speaking about European grants, I think it's the same in the US. That's in fact when you are speaking about grants related to innovations, you have many different programs, tools, instruments. So it's a little bit difficult to understand what fits exactly within your activities. Just to summarize European grants, in fact, you have 3 types of grants. You have grants directly managed by the European Commission. It's very simple. They publish call for proposals, and then you answer to the call for proposals. The European grants are mainly grants that will fund consortium. It means that you have at least 3 partners coming from 3 different countries who will apply the grants. The topics, there are many different topics. There are some activities related to health, some other related to ICT, other to materials, production processes. So there are many different activities, but mainly they will fund consortiums. But they could also fund startups and companies, because in fact they set up some years ago two very interesting programs. The first one is Accelerator, the SME instruments. In fact, it's very interesting because you can apply for a grant, a mix between a grant and equity. So it means that you can receive two types of fundings. It's totally free in terms of subjects. So in fact, we have some projects in our regions, for example, one focused on development of new materials used for satellites and the new space. Another one which is focused on the assay for development of new molecules. So that very different topics, but so for the position for the US, it's very simple. It's like what was described by Jean-François. We need that, it's not the headquarters, but we need that the US company as a branch in Europe that we carry out the research and innovation activities. So it's the basic for the European Commissions. But you have some American companies, like for example, Microsoft, who apply and receive many grants from the European Commissions. But in fact, they have some research and innovation activities in Europe, which is mid. The only exception is with health. Why? Because in fact, European companies, they could apply for any age programs. So there is an agreement with the US authorities, and for collaborative programs in the health priority, US company could also apply with European ones. So it means that it's also a way to enter into consortium. So the first thing. The second thing is that we have a mix between European funding and national funding. And I think that probably Alban Stam for BPI will introduce this type of funding. It's very interesting because we could set up very simple projects, two partners coming from two countries. It's better if it's SMEs. And we have very good example, for example, between France and Israel, development of new diagnostic tools, for example, or other type of programs. So it's a mix between national and European program. And we have a third types of European funding, which is local funding. It means, in fact, that the European Commissions will transfer funds to the regional authorities, and the regional authorities will select some projects. So it means that, in fact, we can, at local level, fund projects through a mix between European funding and local funding. Just to have an idea about the volume of money, it's not some euros, it's 80 billion euros for the next period to 2021-27. So it means that there will be many opportunities open to the companies to get funds for research and innovation activities. Research and innovations, it means that some European programs could fund projects at very early stage. If you know the European or the innovation words like the TRL, technology readiness level, it means that you can get funds for project with the TRL between 1 and 4. And then you can apply for other instruments that will be open for project between 4 and 6. And then you have other instruments for TRL above 6. So it means, in fact, that you have many opportunities. You need to select them. You need to find the right partners. And just to conclude on this point, we are a member of a pan-European network, the EEN network, Enterprise Europe Network. And a part of a job is to find some partners for our customers. So we can identify through our network, which is in Europe, but not only in Europe, because we have colleagues in Canada, for example, or in Southern Korea. We can identify some partners, and then to make the links between the partners, and then we help then to set up some consortium, and then to get money. So sorry, but in less than 10 minutes, it's quasi impossible to describe all the different opportunities. The idea of my talk today was just to give you an overview, that we are open to the discussions, so that's no problem. You can ask questions, and I will try to answer you. Thanks.
Excellent. Well, Jean-Jacques, thank you very much for this. This is quite exciting to hear these numbers and all these processes, and which then leads to a question we have from Manish Varma, CEO of Mariana. So any advice on how US companies can tap into the European VC network? So, and I'm just going to add, with the people you have here, Manish, you're already well connected once you connect with the individuals to the VC network in general. But with that said, any other advice from any of the panelists? How can a US company tap into the European venture capital network, private, public? What are your thoughts?
The public European network is quite easy to tap into because it's the European investment fund and it's easy to find. And concerning the private VCs, I guess that the best way is to participate to things that do not exist nowadays, but congresses and Bio Europe, for example, or if it's life science, of course, or other meetings like that, because you have VCs attending. It's the easiest way. And one thing that I did forget to say is that it's very important to study your VC before contacting them, because all the VCs have different philosophies and goals they want to invest in. And if you send your BP to everyone, you will lose time, they will lose time, and it's not efficient. The best way is to try to understand their philosophy and the companies they invest in, so that the batch is easiest and more meaningful.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Karine. And that's a good point for Manish. The Bio Europe, this conference, which is taking place very soon, actually. I think you're going to find not only VCs, but also a lot of the pharma companies that you're, basically trying to tap into. So
maybe, Alistair, I could add something. It's directly related to European programs. That's the European Commission's grants consortium. Some little money, 500 million euro. It's big projects that are known under the name of Knowledge and Innovation Community, KIC, and there is one focused on health. And the activities of the KICs are to support innovation through grants, classical. The second one is training, and the third one is acceleration. So in this activity, in this pillar, you have direct link with investors and investment funds. And you have also the investment funds of the big pharma, which are all in the organization. So it means that it could be a way to identify some interesting leads. But this program, it's like other European programs, or as mentioned by Jean-François for CapInnovest, it means that you have activities in Europe, and we hope in France.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you, Jean-Jacques. So we have another question here. Azadeh, do you want to go ahead with the question in the chat?
Sure. I think it was more of a comment from Pat O'Shea from IC Med. Great to have you on the call, Pat. So he was mainly interested in, said we would have a great interest if a fund would be willing to invest in a US company doing business in France, as we plan to do. We have serious discussions underway at a hospital and have approval from their innovation team and their privacy security team. If the investor were supportive of us, we could all benefit. So any comments from the panelists?
Yes, and maybe to add a little bit to that, basically it's a project from the US. The hospital wants to implement it or is highly interested, and the company in the US is asking, are there any funding to be able to de-risk that pilot, that proof of concept with the hospital from the government, for instance, which would then reassure business angels and investors to maybe also double down on the investment. Are there any opportunities like this? What are the thoughts of the panelists? Karine, yep. Any?
Yeah, well, the point is that usually the pilot phase could be financed by the Europe, by the H2020, but I think that you have to be a European company or to have European companies that you work with to be able to have that money from the H2020. So that was the only solution that came to mind, but maybe my colleagues will have other solutions.
Any other solution, Jean-Jacques, Jean-François?
I fully agree with you, Karine. This is the basic. Yeah, there is for European grants difficult if you're not located in France for proof of concept. Or it's very difficult to get money. The only solutions is to be subcontractor of European organizations that will apply for grants, but it means that there will be two main problems. The first one is related to the IPR management, which could be a little bit complicated. And the second one, it depends. The European Commission could say, okay, why do not select a subcontractor in Europe rather than in the US? So that's there are few solutions. That's really focused on company located in France or in Europe.
Excellent. Does this answer the question, Patrick?
Let us know in the chat box. It also looks like Emmanuel Poteau raised his hand. I'm going to let him talk in case you'd like to add to that.
Yes.
Discussion. Emmanuel's from the SAT Connectus.
Alban is with us also. Alban, let me know if you hear us and if you want to introduce BPI. Happy to put you unmute and put the webcam on.
No, I'm sorry. It was just a mistake. I'm sorry, guys.
Okay, Emmanuel. Thank you. Good to hear you. So, Alban, welcome to the talk. So maybe can you quickly, I think we can't hear you. Can you maybe introduce BPI for us? Thank you very much.
Yeah. I'm going to try to give you an overview of BPI. BPI is the public investment bank which finance businesses from the seed phase to transfer to stock exchange listing through different kind of financial products like subsidy, loans, guarantees, and equity. And we are about 2,500 people in France. Very close to all our clients, and we have mainly 6 different branches, which are innovation, guarantee, financing, equity, and international, and accompany companies as well. And all these different branches worked very close one to another in order to help businesses to grow and to prepare tomorrow's competitiveness. And we invest about more than 20 billion euro every year, and it represents about 90,000 businesses we accompany with all the different branches. And we are involved a lot in helping startups to develop, especially in seed capital when it's difficult for equity to be there and to help them. And we work very closely to all the different equity capital with subsidy and loans in the first stages. I don't know if you have any question about it's very wide, so we can go more deeply, deeper, I mean, in different branches, but
Thank you very much, Alban. So basically, BPI is a very central, I mean, probably the most central innovation engine in France. It's the innovation engine in France. You know, every startup, I would say, Alban, goes through you at some point of their life cycle. And very glad to have you with us. So thank you for presenting BPI. We have Nicolas Pellerin from NextMed who's mentioning for Patrick O'Shea from ICMed that yes, there are specific grants in case of partnership for R&D programs. So Patrick, that will answer your question. And now you also have a contact with Nicolas Pellerin to discuss these programs. So we have more questions coming. Thank you. Keep it coming, guys. This is awesome. So one more question is, so for public money, how long does funding normally takes from start to finish? I'm guessing it depends on every situation, but to get an envelope.
It depends. It depends. For Europe, between the time you apply and then you get the money, it's between 9 and 12 months. Okay, it depends. But for accelerator, which is focused on startups and SMEs, it could be shorter, 6 months. But less, it's a little bit difficult because you need time to apply, then evaluations, then you need to discuss about the contract and then to sign the contract. So it's between 6 and 12, but better 9 to 12. For local grants and grants with BPI, different. I think that for BPI, Alban will explain us that for local grants could take something that's 2-3 months. Okay, between the time you apply and then you will receive the go and then the money. It's shorter than for European grants. But maybe Alban could add some information about BPI.
Yeah, I mean, we try to be very fast on decision, and decisions are mainly local. Just to be very reactive, because startups they must get the money very quickly, and so it's very important for us to react very quickly, and mainly the way we work, we ask a business plan to the company. We analyze it, and sometimes we involve experts to get deeper in to have deeper information about businesses and about the market, the technology, and different the IP as well. It can be very wide question we ask, but as Jean-Jacques said, we in general it doesn't take no more than 3 months.
Excellent. So thank you. So that answers this question. So I see Nick. Thank you, Alban. Thank you very much. We have Nick Anderson. You have the hand raised. You want to ask a question? So Nick is the president of Caritsu Forum Business Angel Group in the US. It would be good to have a perspective from an investor standpoint.
So one of the issues, I guess, for a lot of smaller companies trying to enter the European market is, I mean, obviously a lot of companies are trying to get money or funding or trying to fund their expansion to Europe. Is there any particular program that would help either our portfolio companies or any other companies that are online or on the call here to enter Europe in that you could think of, either grant-wise or maybe a special purpose vehicle that Karine you might have if there's a if you set up a joint sub in in France or something like that. So just I'd be curious if you have any questions. And I have another question for Karine after that.
I do not know any specific fund to help US companies come to Europe. Usually they will try to, but as you very well know, they will try to find VCs completing their VCs so that they have European footprints in order to help them find the right persons and doors and so on and so forth. And then still there is events like Bio Europe and Big Booster, who, for example, in Lyon, who help the companies understand how to specifically pitch for European VCs and find the right people to talk to.
Excellent, excellent. So I'm going to just pause a couple of seconds and launch a quick poll to see a bit who do we have in the audience in terms of demography. So I'm going to launch a poll. Normally you should see a screen appear on your screen. You know, tell us a little bit who you are, entrepreneurs, investors, ecosystem leaders. So we get a gist of the DNA of the crowd here. Thank you. So can the panelists, do you see the poll? Excellent. Okay, great. So we have a lot of entrepreneurs. So please keep on asking questions. This event is for you, and investors as well. If you have any questions, you know, so great to see a great crowd, very diverse. So we expect diverse questions too. Don't hesitate. We're there for you guys. Thank you for answering the poll. Okay.
And Nick, you had another question for me?
I do. So approximately how many, or two questions actually, in general in Europe, I assume that warm introductions are very important in the US. I assume it's the same in Europe. And then the other question is, you know, about how many companies do you fund per year?
Yeah, of course, warm introductions are always the best. That's for sure. And we invest in 5 to 8 new companies per year, knowing that we reinvest in 10 to 15 of our companies. So we invest around 30 to 40 million per year, but we have half and half new companies and reinvestments.
Great, thanks.
Excellent, excellent. So I just shared also the audience results to the rest of the attendees. So feel free also if you have questions. Manish, any other questions on your end? Anyone wants to ask a question? Delphine Krieger, do you want to speak about the soft landing funding?
Do you hear me?
Yes, Delphine, we hear you.
Yes, hello. I just wanted to complete basically with Nicolas what he was mentioning earlier. Yeah, there is also specific grant here from the Metropolis of Strasbourg to help company to land here, to connect them with an expert or professional, an expert that will help them to take the right decisions when they set up here. And there is also a small grant, public grant directly from the city to help them. So we have a specific program called the Export Program, which is actually a complete program that includes what Alistair and Innouvo is doing in Boston, which means when we have companies that apply for Explore, they have the ability to land in Strasbourg and from Strasbourg later on to go international, as we have that complete program that we are running here. So if there is any question about it, I'll be more than happy to give much more details. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. And we can direct your request. If you send us the messages with the request, we can direct it to the right people to make it easier for you guys on the crowd there. Thank you. Any other questions from anybody? So I would have maybe one question, you know, so one particularity of France is really this private public funding sort of strategies. I think for you specifically, Jean-François, you have a fund where there's a match, you know, there's a portion from the government, a match from private investors. Is it okay maybe to share a bit, you know, how this works and to sort of show the synergies between public and private funding in France?
Yes, sure. And actually it relies to our requirements. So indeed, yeah, in our first fund, we had 90% of the money coming from public bodies, so meaning BPI and the regions. So only 10% of the funds were coming from private companies such as banking and so on. For our second fund, the ratio will be 70-30%, so a bit more we ask a bit more from private money. But yes, there are strong help from public bodies here to encourage seed funding and to finance the young startups, because clearly there was a need at this stage of investment. And on top of that, we work closely with Jean-Jacques, with Alban, to match our private, because our investment is private in the end, it's considered as private. So we can match this private investment with, again, public grants or loans coming from Europe region BPI. So we can manage to raise quite a lot of money, and a good part of it is non-dilutive, which is quite good for the entrepreneurs.
Excellent, excellent. And what does it take for US investors to want to maybe invest and put some funds in your funds, or
Actually, nothing. We are completely open to any LP. So yeah, it's there. We do not have any restriction on that, except of course KYC and anti-laundering. But yeah, other than that, we do not have any restriction.
Excellent, excellent. So that's good to know. We have a question from Patrick right here. So have any of the panelists invested alongside a US-based fund in a US-based company, especially where the company may have business prospects in Strasbourg area or in Europe in general? And Patrick is trying to get a feel for the possibilities of collaborative investments. So US and European funds synergizing to help a company.
Well, we have US companies investing in French companies, as it is with us, but we never invested with US companies with US venture in US companies yet.
Yeah, that could be an opportunity actually, because we do see quite some traction from the US investors, like you say, Karine, investing in France or sourcing deals from France and investing and doing all the due diligence. Could it be interesting actually to have them do the due diligence and then sort of have like a match or a synergy, between the European VC fund, who in some cases may have like smaller amounts that they can put, but then still benefit from the ROI potential?
Yeah, well, in the cases that I'm talking about, they came after us or at the same time as us. So we did not benefit from their due diligences, but yeah, of course, it may happen.
Okay, that could be interesting indeed. So any more questions, everybody? Nick, I see you have the hand raised. Is that on purpose?
No, that was, I hadn't lowered it from before, sorry.
Okay, no worries, no worries. So any more questions? So we also have European entrepreneurs. So it's the same dilemma, sometimes either, for the locals. So if you have any questions, Strasbourg entrepreneurs, French entrepreneurs on the call today, feel free to ask questions. We know it's quite hard to get FaceTime with the amazing panelists we have today. They're very busy, so feel free to ask questions so it can help you in your strategies, and so you don't, miss the chance of making a good impression next time you talk with them. So feel free to ask any question. Any more questions? Azadeh, no question. No one is curious? No one has a question?
Oh, I have a question for Jean-Jacques. So Jean-Jacques, of the programs that you have, or that you represent, or that you help companies apply for, which would you say would be the most apt, the most relevant for companies that are, say, cash strapped, as most companies are, but are entering the European Union and have however, they have a partnership set up, but they're just trying to figure out how to de-risk it somewhat. I mean, it's sort of similar to the question that I forgot who asked the question, who's got that maybe Patrick had, that was setting up something, but similar to that. But it's a common problem as American companies trying to, or American companies trying to set up or to go to France and Europe in general?
That's really easy to answer to this question. But basically, in fact, basically for European programs, it's quite the same than if you apply for equity. In fact, that's for many European programs. In fact, you need to describe your activities and the business which is behind. Okay, that's there is a clear evolution of the programs in the last 20 years. It was basically designed to support research activities, and then now it's designed to support innovation activities, which is a little bit different. Because in fact, the European Commissions, they put many money on the table that they would like to have some return on investments, like for a traditional investment fund. And then now they combine, and it was something very new at European level. They combine grants and equity. And today they did it with the one instruments, the SME instruments. They are working with the European Investment Bank, which has a fund, specific fund, so that they will normally sign the first. No, they signed the first deals in the last months. So, but basically, that's the same. It's the same approach, and I think that's something which is very interesting when we are working with entrepreneurs which came from the US, and we're working in European companies. They are straight on the point. Okay. It is very important in France that our program, it's often for European programs, we like words, okay? We like sentences to explain, blah, 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 blah. So that you need to go straight to the point because, in fact, to apply a grant, you have maybe 20 pages, 30 pages. So you need to explain basically what you want to do, what is your proposition of value, clearly for the European Commission, what would be the impact for you in terms of economical developments, what could be the impact for the society, and especially when we're discussing about artificial intelligence, it's very specific in Europe, but the question of ethics in artificial intelligence is a central issue. If you apply for a grant and you will explain that it will do very interesting things, but no relationships with ethics, with inclusion, and so on, so that you have few chances to get the money from the European Commission. So in fact, to apply, you need to understand what is the context, what are the, how to say that's the right words to use. But the experience we have that when the grants applied by people coming from North America, US and Canada, it often works because it's very clear. And then you have a chance then because you need to apply in English, not in French.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Jean-Jacques, thank you so much. Does this answer the question, Nick? I'm going to pause a second to launch a new poll for a few seconds. So are you looking for funding? Here's the poll. It should appear on your window. And then we have Manish, who joined as a panelist, CEO of Mariana, who has a question, I suppose. I saw your hand up, Manish, so I put you here.
Yeah, can you hear me okay, Alistair?
Absolutely. Let's 1 second, Manish. Yes, we hear you, and we're going to get to you in a few seconds. I'm just going to share the result of the poll here. Everyone has answered, okay, and so basically, we have 9 people looking for funding, 5 people not looking for funding. Not everyone answered, but that gives the gist of the audience. Thank you, guys. Thank you for everybody. Manish.
Okay. First of all, Alistair, I'd like to thank you for setting up this session. It's extremely important and useful for entrepreneurs like us. So really want to thank you for thinking about this important topic and bringing it to us.
Thank you.
And moreover, appreciate the panelists for taking their time and sharing their experiences. It's infinitely valuable for folks like us. So at Mariana, we are a US company, and we have a very strong desire to get to France, not only because of the strong talent pool in healthcare and technology, but also a very strong customer base. But we cannot shift our headquarters to France. So what are some of the options for tapping into sources of funding, be it VC, be it private equity, be it debt instrument, so that we can set up the office and start running within first couple of months, and then start getting customers and revenue stream to sustain and promote and then develop our presence there.
Excellent. And Manish, would it make sense maybe to just give a couple of KPIs, for your business and what it does? I think it may help also the panelists answer this one.
Absolutely. So Mariana is a technology company with specific focus on artificial intelligence, improving supply chain primarily in the healthcare space. So as you know, supply chain has been disrupted everywhere in every industry. We are right at the heart of changing the way supply chain is done, right from the point you secure your material all the way to your finished goods getting to the customers. Does that make sense?
Excellent. Yes. And I don't know, so your revenue generating company, several customer, very sophisticated team, that's it. So thank you, Manish. So any feedback for Manish?
I guess that you have to find European VCs willing to invest in the US if you do not want to move the headquarters in France. And we usually do not like to invest in subsidiaries because we never know the money movements between the two. So we usually like to invest in the mother company. But you have some French funds, and especially there is a well-known crossover fund which is called Sofinova, which everybody knows, which invests in the US. For us, Credit Mutuel, it would be the Canadian side of our house that would look into your company, because they are the ones looking into the North American companies for us. But you could find a few crossover funds in France.
Good.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Karine, so does that respond to the question, Manish? Any follow-up questions? Any other questions?
No, I'd love to hear from other panelists, their point of view and experiences.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to go? Jean-François, Jean-Jacques, Alban? Does BPI? Yep. Jean-Jacques?
Yeah, maybe just one comment. Maybe a way could be to check if there is some investment funds from companies, because typically in your topic, this is the case in Europe. In fact, you have, for example, the car manufacturers. They're really interested by technologies combining artificial intelligence for monitoring of the supply chain. This is a crucial issue for many companies, and especially big manufacturing companies in Europe. We have experience in contest with startups working on this on these topics. Maybe I don't know the situation in the US, so that's you know better the situation. But maybe a way could be to find some industrial funds, which could be interesting by the technology. And if you have a company, because in fact there are cross links between European and US company, it's the case for the automotive industry, and they are interesting to invest maybe in a US company and then to use the technology for the European subsidiaries. Maybe my colleagues could add some other information or maybe ideas.
Anyone else wants to go? Otherwise, I have another question. So I'll go for the other question. So if you were an entrepreneur, so this is to the panelists, if instead of being an investor, you were an entrepreneur, how would you go about raising funds in Europe? Where would you start? Where would you find maybe the list of investors that are in your field? Any advice, to us all, to where to start, how to proceed, and how to find the right investors and so on, and how to avoid mistakes, and pitfalls maybe. Karine, yes?
of course, I would begin with France. No, it's not a joke, because in the UK, it's nowadays very complicated to know how it will go forward. And in Germany, you have less professional investors as we have in France. You have a lot of corporate investors, which is also good, but it's different. In France, we have kind of a syndicate of professional investors. And as I told you, for me, it's very important that you study the field and try to understand the people you will be talking to, in order to know what they're looking for and how they work, and to pitch the way they want you to pitch. Not, of course, saying the truth, but in the way that will appeal to them. So I would go to the syndicate and ask to understand the different actors in the VC field. And also, as I told you, I would go to professional agents.
Okay, great. And where do we find the syndicalist? Where do we find them?
The syndicate? It was called AFIC. It must be still France Invest. It's called France Invest.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Excellent. Alban, yeah.
I think the best when you go from abroad and you want to create a company, for example, in France, the best thing to do, I think, it's to meet all the agencies which can help you to organize a meeting with Jean-François, BPI, and GrandENov, all the actors, and all the actors I are connected. The one they are all connected, and they will help you to find the way to find the good investors. And for example, in BPI we have a specific department which can help companies, French, companies were created in France to find the right investors regarding their businesses. So it's very important to meet all the actors in one time. I'm not too sure if I was so clear in my explanation.
Does this answer the question?
Yeah, maybe Alban is too shy, but I think a good way to start in France is to meet BPI, indeed, because they have a lot of they have a very good network. They know every investor in France, and they also can help in the entrepreneurs with loans and grants again. So I think it could be a good start. And then once again, as Karine said earlier, a good place to meet French and European VC are the Bio Europe, Bio Equity, Bio Trinity is in UK, but yeah, that's under Sachs Associate too, are very nice place to meet investors because it's quite small and it's very dedicated to investments.
Excellent. Thank you, Jean-François. So couple last questions. So we have one from the Unima team. They have a rapid COVID test. Basically, they're deploying in the US and maybe also in a broader market, maybe Europe. So basically, they're saying, it's been established that it is preferred to invest in a company operating in France. Being that said, if the company is not operating in France, but the expansion is outside the US and global, would that appeal to French investors? And I think we talked about one company that is actually investing specifically in a US company, right? Karine, you mentioned a VC fund well-known in France that invests in foreign.
Yeah. But as I said, it's most well-known, but there are others, cross-other funds. and I think that it's always difficult for a VC to invest in a very far away company, because we think that part of our job, the biggest part of our job, is to be close to the CEOs and help them. So if we are not on the same time frame and we are thousands of kilometers away, it's more difficult. So we usually like to invest in regions that we can go to easily. Well, today we cannot go anywhere, so it's easiest, but I think that it's difficult for European funds to invest in US companies if they don't have the close vicinity that they're looking for.
Excellent, excellent. And then maybe, so final question on my end. So unless we receive more questions, we'll end after this question and after the panelists, close the round here. So basically, you see a lot of pitch decks, you see a lot of things changing, you're the forefront of the disruption and the world being transforming. What do you see as hot trends, investments that are really hot, that you're really looking for, types of investments, versus maybe things that used to be hot that are less hot? I'm thinking, for example, medtech. There's a lot of discussions around medtech, where a lot of medtech entrepreneurs are saying there's a little bit less, appetite. So, could you shed some light a little bit that, we can sort of figure out, are we focusing on the right things? Should we include new sort of features in our products, new ways of thinking to really, meet more of your needs? So that would be my question.
Well, the hot trend today is diagnostics, and specifically COVID, but hopefully it will not last. The medtech has nowadays new regulatory rules, so of course it's less hype than it was, because nowadays the medtech regulatory rules will take longer than it used to. So the investors will have to wait a little bit longer than they used to. So that's why it's less trendy, but nonetheless, I think that it's one of the best market to invest in. So I still have that point of view.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Karine. So diagnostic for Karine. Jean-François, for you?
Well, it's quite a difficult question, actually, because we always see new topics, new things coming from companies, and also some fields that we actually didn't know about. Once again, we can invest in all fields, but regarding health industry and life sciences, which I know a bit more, yeah, I agree with Karine. Diagnostic was very, very hard to invest in the past few years, and it's getting a little bit better. We see a few funds specialized in diagnostic, and well, medtech, yeah, it really depends on the product and the application and the indication and the need. So we try to stay agnostic, and of course, biotech is still very, very, there's a lot of money for biotech companies, and it's true in the US, and it's true as well in Europe.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Jean-François. Thank you very much. Alban, on your end, any insights? And then I want to ask also Nick, if you're still with us, have a US point of view as well. I think it could be good from a collective exchange here. Alban, are you with us? Any insights there on what you are seeing as sort of the next trend and shifts in investment that could guide us? Or Jean-Jacques Bernardini?
No.
No? Okay, Nick, what about you, Nick? Any insights you want to add here to help us, sort of shed some light on the different trends?
Well, one thing that we are still saying 7 months into this disaster is that all the companies should be planning for a long runway. We have no idea how long, when this madness will be over. And even if the election goes well, that doesn't mean that there will be a vaccine in the U.S. So, it's and as far as what's hot, well, in medtech or in life sciences, of course, diagnostics are still ruling the day. I'm trying to think about what's going to happen afterwards, and I don't know what's going to. I really haven't seen anything that is really people are jumping on yet. So I don't know what's going to happen. And then outside of life sciences, it's still cloud. Everything's cloud. So
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nick. So tomorrow we have an event with executives from large biotech companies. We have Bayer, Takeda, Johnson & Johnson, executive level. They will share some of their perspective. If any one of you wants to join, just send us a message. So I think let's maybe do a final round. Karine, Alban, Jean-Jacques, Jean-François, Nick, Michel. Do you have any final thoughts? Any final words you would want to share with the crowd?
No, thank you all for your questions. It was a great time to be with you.
Excellent. Thank you, Karine. Jean?
Yeah, I will add something that's related to the last, I think it was Nick. I think that we could be optimistic because we are living a big crisis, clearly. But during the crisis, always in industry, you have new technologies that appeared. And I think that it's a chance for the development of new technology. For example, in the health, to develop RNA vaccine. That we discuss about how it could be great during the last years. And I think it was a part of the solutions. We are discussing about artificial intelligence. We are discussing about digitalization, moreover. We are discussing about environmental and energetic transitions. But I think that at the moment, there is clearly an acceleration in terms of development. And I think that's sure that we are living very, very hard days. But I'm very optimistic. I think that there are many opportunities that will be open in the next month, in the next years. So we need to take these opportunities and to make the disaster we are living into a change. Okay.
Excellent. Well, Jean-Jacques, this cannot finish on a better note than this, and we totally agree. It's a great opportunity we're living, despite the difficulties it's generating.
Yeah.
So thank you so much to all the panelists that have been sharing their wisdom today with us. Thank you to the attendees. Any questions, comments, shoot us emails, and we will make sure we make things happen. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Michel, for the
Thank you.
organization. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.